This is Jared Parry for Boxing Social in association with William Hill and Empire Fight Store. Delighted to be joined by Mr. Adam Morallee. We're here ahead of a warm-up fight, to say the least, for Lerone Richards here in Leicester.
Yeah, it's great to be here. It's great to restart Lerone's career. He's been out for like 17 months since he beat Gongora, and he's back to small hall show, that great show against Harry Matthews.
It's promised to be a good fight. Obviously, Lerone, his skill set is just elite in it. Like, people may look on BoxRec, not see the knockout ratio, but you cannot, like, the slippery skills, just everything about him. It's just, he's more of a purist, a boxing purist.
Absolutely. I mean, look, Lerone hasn't got a high KO ratio, but he's gone through various coaches. He's got incredible natural skills. He's gone through coaches. Each of his coaches, Al Smith, Dave Colwell, they've all added parts to Lerone. But tonight is why I'm really excited, is because it's his first outing under Grant Smith. And we work with Grant with some of our other boxers. I think Grant is one of the best coaches in the UK right now. And I want to see how he improves Lerone. I'm really excited to watch that tonight.
I'm going to move on slightly though to something that a lot of people are talking about in boxing at the minute. Obviously, Joe Joyce, one of your fighters, he was on the end of a lot of TKO loss to Zhillei Zhang not so long ago. He looks set to invoke, well, he has activated the rematch clause. Was there any option for him to do anything else?
Yeah, I mean, look, we had a few options. He could have taken an interim fight and then gone for the rematch. He could go for the rematch straight away, or he could have avoided Zhang and had a different career path. The point about the rematch for Zhang is Joe beats Zhang, he gets the WBO interim back, and he gets a guaranteed world title shot at the end of the year. And after the fight, Joe had a couple of weeks to think about it, but he was very, very clear. He wants to fight Zhang again. He wants his belt back.
Is it like a bit of a pride thing as well? Like, he's been defeated by a man. He feels he can beat him. It's time to prove that he can beat him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, Joe knows he didn't put in a good performance that night. I think Joe's found out. I mean, you don't know until people actually meet in the ring what style matchups are going to be like. It's a difficult style matchup for Joe. Joe hasn't fought that many southpaws. He's much more comfortable with orthodox boxers. So it's not an easy option, this. But Joe wants to beat him primarily to get his WBO interim back. But yeah, he wants revenge.
Of course, so he's going to want revenge. And Zhang, do you think he was slightly...
Fuck around the pussy.
It's a nice little cameo there from Sonny. Picking it back up. Yeah, Zhang, obviously, I don't think it was a case of underestimating. Anyone who watches boxing seen Zhang's fight with Hrgovic. It was a good fight. They've seen, well, just a lot of people thought Zhang was going to blow out. I don't know much about the game plan, but obviously Joe was taking a lot of punishment in there, but we all know Joe, he's got a chin of steel. We've seen that in the Parker fight. Do you think that was maybe sort of the game plan, was to see if he can wear Zhang down, or do you think it was just...
No. Look, our game plan was pretty clear. We wanted to stay in the fight in the first 6 rounds, then Joe would take over rounds 7 to 12. So Salas wanted to be elusive early on, and he wasn't elusive. He took a lot of punishment, but he did in the Carlos Takam fight. And then he saw what happened from round 4 or 5 onwards. I think if you looked at the punch volumes, Joe was throwing 4 times as many punches as Zhang in round 5. So I think if the injury hadn't occurred, Joe would have won that fight either on points or deep into the end of the fight. I think Zhang would have blown up round 7 to 12, but we don't know because Joe lost. But the game plan was certainly not to take lots of punches.
So looking at back then, so Joe's going to now invoke the rematch clause. Does he have a rough time when he thinks he'll get back in the ring? Obviously, I've seen an interview we did the other day with IFL. His eye looks like it's healed up, like that's where the damage was. Do you think it could be as quick as maybe, I don't know, May? Well, not May, obviously, no. Like July, August time?
Yeah, look, we want to get Joe to get straight back. So he's had a bit of time off. The eye healed really quickly. Probably want to get him out to Vegas in probably June, and then fight late summer, early autumn, I'd hope.
Yeah, so with that then, obviously everyone was putting Joe in about the top 5 at that point. Then all of a sudden it's all come out about this heavyweight tournament. Yeah. Joe was, I think it was quite a few people commenting saying, oh, they're surprised Joyce wasn't included, etc. But I want to get your thoughts on the heavyweight tournament. Obviously Saudi Arabia, there was reported purchases that came out by Simon Jordan. They've apparently been cancelled out with Prince Khalid. Just what's your thoughts on this whole tournament? Do you think it's a possibility? Do you think it's actually happening?
I think they've got the budget for it. I'd say that. They've got the budget for it. I think whenever you try and make fights at the top level in boxing, lots of things come into play. Different people's contracts with different broadcasters and different promoters. I think my view on it is hard enough to set up one mega fight, but to do two on the same night with 4 different broadcasters, 4 different things, I think it's an almost impossible job. So what do I think will happen? I think you'll see one mega fight in Saudi Arabia at the end of this year. They want a fight, they're going to get one. Maybe it'll be AJ versus Wilder. That's probably my gut feel on the fight they'll get. Is it possible? Yeah, of course it's possible. Saudi's the only place that can... I don't think the money's the problem, actually. I think they could probably have enough money. I just think there's other technical, legal details, such as broadcast rights, such as who does what. That you've got 4 people there, Wilder, Joshua, Usyk, Fury, all of whom are top dogs, and all of whom will want things their way. So I just think it's a very difficult task.
Sticking with the heavyweight division, it's been a bit of a roller coaster of a week. We've seen the Pierce bid situation play out. Fabio Wardley with the British title, set for Pierce bids with Fraser Clarke. Then on the 11th hour, Eddie Hearn puts a tweet out saying that he's heard that Boxer have pulled Fraser Clarke out of the negotiations. What's your take on this whole situation?
Well, I've got a vested interest here. We look after Sol Dakers, who's the English heavyweight champion, and I think he should be in the mix for that title. The fight was ordered because someone on Fraser's behalf pushed for that. Because in my mind, Sol Dakers would have been ahead of Fraser Clarke. I think it's difficult. Listen, it's difficult for all the parties involved. I do feel for various different people involved in the process, but unfortunately, that situation should never have occurred. People shouldn't be being pulled out of purse bids, in my opinion. There should be some foresight there as to whether someone actually wants to fight. And there have been contradicting messages from different people during the week. But ultimately, look, these things happen. The fight's not happening. There is a difficulty at the moment in boxing where people are very worried about the reaction to decisions on social media. So sometimes people will say, oh, as a manager, we got a lot of stick for Joe taking on Zhang, and people are saying that's a terrible move. But Joe wants the big fights, and he wants to be involved in great fights, and for me, that's what boxing's about, setting up the biggest and best fights all the time, on the one hand. On the other hand, you have people wanting to protect their oaths, protect their record. Oh my God, what if he gets beat? And that attitude, oh my God, what if he gets beat, is, I think, what's holding boxing back sometimes. Fraser Clarke, Fabio Wardley is a fabulous British fight that should happen, in my opinion. It's a fantastic fight. And Sol Dakers, Fabio Wardley should happen. And Sol Dakers, Fraser Clarke should happen. Sol Dakers, David Adelaide should happen. And they should work out who is the best of those 4. And that person should go on to a higher level.
I was going to say, have you reached out then, being with Sol, have you reached out to Eddie already and said, look, Sol's ready, you can go in next?
Absolutely. Straight away.
Because another name that's thrown himself in, you've got David Allen thrown himself in, David Adelaide. It's a bit of a cluster of British heavyweights now, and it's probably domestic scene. That's probably one of the healthiest it's looked for a long time.
Absolutely, it's absolutely fantastic. You've got like the top, you've got like White and Chisora. Well, Chisora's kind of almost retired, but you've still got Dillian White in the mix. You've got the real A-level heavyweights, Fury and AJ, where we put Joe kind of reaching up to that level. Dubois. Got those people there, and then at this level below, 4 or 5 great names. We should be watching those guys fight each other, and then the winner there should go up and probably fight a Dubois. That'd be fantastic, but it's a shame. It's a real shame it didn't happen, WardleyClarke, and I really hope it does happen. But I understand why not, because people are so worried about what happens if someone loses their own.
I want to ask you now about another one of your fighters. A fight got announced yesterday, undercard of Dalton Smith, Janae Boston, probably one of the most exciting prospects in British boxing at the minute. 6 wins, 6 KOs. The last fella he beat went 8 rounds of Josh Kelly before him, and then Junaid knocked him out. What speed are we looking to move Junaid at this year?
Yeah, look, Junaid wants to move at warp speed. He just wants to go as fast as he possibly can. He looks around, he looks at Sky, he sees what's happening with like Adam Azim, and he thinks, I'm as good as that guy. I should be built as good as that guy. I should move as quick as that guy. And again, I don't want to hold Janae back. And what I was saying before, I don't want to be having a defensive attitude. But the point is, you've got to match Lerone against the right people, match Junaid against the right people to get him to the right stage. That's what I'm thinking about. So I think we should be looking this year at Central Area title, something like that. Then moving him on to a British title. But yeah, Central Area title for sure this year. Moving on to British next year. And then upwards from there.
Just another rundown of your stable. You got any dates in mind other than the fighters that I mentioned that you got coming up?
Tommy Fletcher, boxing York Hall, June 9th. Day after, Johnny Fisher, June 10th. Very much looking forward to both those fights. It'll be a great weekend. We've got Florian Marcoux, who was due to fight on the boxer Smith Eubank card. Unfortunately, he can't make, as a date clash, he can't make July 1st. Grant's obviously got Janae and Dalton and others on the Matchroom show, but Florian will be out in July, very hopefully, and then Guido Vianello should be out in August.
Just going to touch on Johnny Fisher a bit. Obviously, he's on Sonny's undercard. Sonny Edwards spoke to him earlier on. Ticket selling wise, he's probably one of the most popular heavyweights out there at the minute.
Absolutely, and we actually, when we were talking about British heavyweights, we didn't mention Johnny Fisher. I think Johnny's kind of humble enough, knows he doesn't have the amateur pedigree of those guys. He's probably pushing into that level now, pushing into the Adelaide Dacres level. Not quite there yet. And I think with Johnny, I'd love to go for something like a Southern Area title with Johnny very soon and bring him up that way, Southern Area. And then I think the British in the heavyweight division is very kind of sought after. But yeah, that'd be Southern Area, English for Johnny. That's where we should be looking. But no one's selling tickets in the heavyweight division at that level like Johnny Fisher.
With Johnny then, obviously you see Matchroom do the next gen shows. Has there been talks of maybe having him headline one? Because can you imagine Johnny Fisher headlining York Hall?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd love to see that. I mean, it's too small for Johnny though. That's the problem. Johnny sells like 3,000 tickets, and for someone of his level, he is late on cards. He's late on cards because people come to see him and people want to, promoters want to keep fans in the building. So Johnny's, when he fought Ali Pali February last year, it almost felt like he was main event. I mean, the main event was Ryder Jacobs, but it almost felt like it was main event. And so Johnny's got that experience almost of being in the main event. But yeah, I'd love to see him at York Hall. I'd love to see him. I'd absolutely love to see him headline there, but it's too small, unfortunately.
Brilliant. Adam, thank you very much for your time and on the insight. All the best tonight, and obviously the best to Lerone as well when he goes out.
Thanks very much.